God responded to love in a whisper of a barely noticeable breeze. I myself would not presume to distract my children from their grand and inspired co creation. And I beg you, my love, do not burn these young hearts in an impulse of your own delight. I remember how, with the grace of your energy, you once set me alight. I feel you are also burning our children with your delight. My God, I do not burn, I only warm them. When you said our children, I gave just a little shudder, and for a moment my energy in turn increased in me, but I restrained them. I declined to burn them. You distinctly said our children, which means they must also be, at least a little bit, mine. Those who are born in love will understand who their mother and father are. All right. Hi, everybody. This is Gabriel Miguel, joined by my dear friend and teammate, Ariane Telishewsky, and this is the Anastasia Foundation podcast. And today we're going to be discussing a pretty big idea from the books. This is about the energy of love and God, right? So the creator and the infinite uh, inspiration of love. And this is meant to be a discussion where we are not definitively, interpreting or uh, commentating on things and saying what they are, but more of like an invitation for collective exploration of these ideas, right? I realize that Ariane and I were talking not too long ago, and we realized that there isn't much discussion going on about the ideas and philosophies and things inside of the books. We had a really great and inspired conversation, and we just decided to maybe have some of those conversations openly and invite everyone here listening to join us. So the goal is to come to new insights together, come to new understanding together. If any of this resonates or you have something that you want to share as you're listening, feel free to drop it in the comments, right? We're all here to explore these ideas more deeply, accelerate our thinking, and come to a new place. So, yeah, it's a big topic. And that quote is from book 8.2, the chapter, I forget, it's chapter 12. And this kind of really frames the discussion. That last part of the quote, God is saying, those who are born in love will understand who their mother and father are. And so that's God is referring to love as one, a separate energy, two, as the mother, and three, he's putting it on equal terms with himself. God is saying the father and the mother, love is the mother. And it's an idea that I find it's completely unique to the Ringing Cedars as well. This idea of like the energy of love being separate from God, and all of the times throughout the books that Anastasia and her grandfathers mention this, the Vedruss people mention this. It's it's a completely unique thing in my understanding to the Ringing Cedars, and it's an idea that I think a lot of us are not familiar with, and we're diving deeper into it. And it's a really interesting and exciting thing. So we have a lot of different quotes from different books and things that um, we want to discuss. But yeah, well, Ariane, welcome. Glad to have you here. Can't wait to
Yeah.
get into this.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gabriel, for having me too. And I'm super happy to be discussing this with you. You mentioned that this is totally unique to the Ringing Cedars, and I agree with that. Where have you heard about God, creator, being the father, and love as a separate embodiment that comes to greet him and they have a dialogue together and they co-create together? Where have you heard of that?
Mm,
I have not heard about that anywhere. We were just discussing, everyone, before we got on this call, that um, we have read, Gabriel and I, between the two of us, I don't know how many times we've read this chapter about God Father being separate from mother love, and yet we never really put together this idea until very recently. And this is another example, everyone, about how this book will meet us where we are. Perhaps we weren't ready to have this conversation before, Gabriel. I have not heard of
mm.
anybody in the community in the 4 years I've been, it's going to be 5 years now. Yeah, 5 years now I've been with all of you in the community. I have not heard anybody speak about this.
Mm.
So we're on to something really juicy here, and it's
Hmm.
exciting. And I have this anticipation in my heart that we're about to tap into something together here that's very important.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel that, right. And I've been trying to piece together these ideas for a while, so I guess that kind of is what is framing or like guiding the conversation, because again it's an idea that's completely unique to the Ringing Cedars. And with that being said, I want to just read a little bit from book 4 about this, right? So the idea of love being defined throughout the series as an energy that's separate from God. There's this part in the beginning of book 4, it's probably the second or third chapter, and Anastasia is telling the story of creation, and God is dreaming of the universe and all this. And then what happens, and I'm going to read here from the book, but, and all at once he sensed a touch. Everywhere, from all quarters in turn, he felt the burn of a new, unfamiliar energy. And then it withdrew to warm him with its warmth from a distance, filling all with some kind of new power. And all that was previously empty space suddenly began to radiate with grace, and the universe resounded with new sounds. And when God inquired with tender ecstasy, "Who are you? What kind of energy are you?" And he heard the words of music in reply, "The energy of love and inspiration am I. A particle of you is within me," God replies. "It alone is able to restrain and cage the energy of disdain, hatred, and rage." Right. And so this is the first time that love like appears, you know,
Whoa.
in the universe, in the creation story, according to God. And even to God, it's a new, unfamiliar energy. It begins warming him, right? God says that it can restrain the energies of disdain, hatred, and rage. And what happens shortly after this um, is the love seems to, God said there's a particle of you within me, right? And this energy of love starts to grow in God. And love basically tells God that it's growing and it's reflecting the radiance of his soul back at him. Like love is growing, but it's reflecting the radiance of his soul back at him. And so God is basically saying, "What is going on here? What indeed? You've begun to shine even brighter." And love responds, "I'm not doing this alone. This is the presence of your energy, your soul. It is only being reflected by me. Your reflected light comes back to your invisible inner self." And God, aflame with courage and aspiration, inspired by love, he then exclaims that he's going to create, right, the universe. Now love has grown inside of him, and love is accelerating. And here is where he finally feels that he can bring into material existence everything that he's dreaming of. So then, shortly after this, the earth appears, right? This is the beginning of the next chapter. The earth appears, and Adam is there. Um, and this is basically the beginning of Adam's life. But right there is this unity between God and love. And I'm going really quickly through this creation story, right? It's I would suggest everyone go back and read this. But
Mm.
essentially, to make a long story short, Adam lives for a long time, and then after that first day where Adam wakes up and he's not interested, and God has this response, right? He's like, "What is going on? Why is Adam not feeling well after a very long time?" And then he gets the inspiration to create Eve. So then he accelerates his energies again. Love starts exclaiming all of these things about how God is moving too quickly and there's too much energy. And then Eve is created. But right after Eve is created, um, Adam responds when he sees Eve for the first time. She walks up to him, and Adam is kind of not interested. He's like, "What's this? Like another creature, another part of the creation?" And he's like, Its legs are not even that strong," or something like that. And he just doesn't really care.
Mm.
And the whole universe responds to this. They're like, "God created this perfect creation, and Adam is not interested at all. What is going on?" And even love is asking God, like, "What is going on?" And God basically responds that, it's because love isn't there. He's not interested. Adam isn't interested because love isn't there. So then God decides to send the totality of the energy of love to the earth, right? And basically, you know, God says to love, um, uh, your shining light both shines and caresses, my love. You are inspiration. You're able to give everything an acceleration. You accentuate sensations, and you are the reconciliation of peace, my love. I beg you, descend to the earth in your totality, leaving nothing in its former place. Surround and enfold these, my children, in yourself, the energy of boundless grace. Oh my God. And Anastasia says, this farewell dialogue of love and God heralded the beginning of all earthly love. So again, these two things acknowledged as separate. God is referring to it on equal terms with himself. And Ariane, I'm sorry, I'm kind of monologuing a little bit. I'm just gonna go a little
No, this
further
is
because to frame this.
do it.
Um, and the last thing here, I'm skipping ahead a little bit in the narrative here, but love then replies to God and says, my God, love called out to the Creator. When I leave, you will be alone, unseen forever, dwelling on all the planes of being. You will be invisible. And a little later, my God, when I leave, you will not be by any eye perceivable. So something about the energy of love existing in God made God visible. They had a dialogue about this. Anyway, God even commands the last spark of love to leave him completely. So love is saying to him, my God, whispered the radiance of love. But why? I do not understand. But why? You've not left even a single spark for yourself? To the words of love, out of the darkness of the universe, God, already perceivable by no one, gave reply. His divine words were heard across space. Anything I kept back for myself would be lacking in my gift to them, my daughters and sons. Oh my God. And that's a lot. It's really a lot. And here we see this great distinction, right? God created with the inspiration of love the material world and us, right? Adam and Eve were created in love. And then once they were there, he decided to send the totality of it to be with us,
Yeah.
right? And it's an unbelievable thing. And like that quote I said in the beginning, those who are born in love will understand who their father and mother are, right? And it goes back to this idea is like the father, this masculine, well, you could say masculine, but not from a limiting human way, but that principle, this creator principle and the infinite love principle, right?
Yeah, let's just take a deep breath, everyone, to that. It's when I hear all this and I really sit with it as we are right now, Gabriel, it really has me reevaluate everything I've been told about love and about God. And I have a far more tender relationship now with love and with God because I'm
Mm,
hearing, let's say if this were true, this perspective of love and God in the Ringing Cedars book, let's say this is true, then love and God are truly co creators at its finest here because God is
mm,
saying in co-creation book 4, I'm on page 31, he's saying to love, hasten, my love, hasten. Do not stop for rational contemplation. Hasten with your last spark and warm all my future sons and daughters. It's
mm,
like we're doing this together. We're doing this now. Go and do
mm.
this. I'm giving you my full consent. We're doing this together. And this is happening now. So this is a beautiful collaboration, co-creation. And it couldn't, no wonder that, it's coming from the book Co-Creation. There you go. It has me really stop and contemplate um, you know, uh, with this father figure, Father God, how unbelievably uh, giving, generous, how
Mm,
thoroughly and totally available and present that this being is. Because he even said, love, take the last spark out of me and go and give it to that planet and those beings and all the life there. I mean, how selfless is that? That's a being that is next level, uh, awakened, free, pure. It's a total mind bender right here. It's absolutely incredible to think about this.
Mm, right. I was thinking the same thing. Like, what an action to take.
Oh my God. What?
How could, a being capable of that? Like, love comes back to God and says, please, I ask you just to let me leave one little spark with you.
Yeah.
And then a little later in the narrative, that spark, you can see it like it's floating down to the earth.
Yes.
And love is like, what did you do? Right?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Right? And God is like, I can't hold anything back, and even with that whole dialogue there of saying something without the presence of love makes God invisible. They actually
Yes.
go through this dialogue, and God is saying, I will arise as the blade of grass, I will arise as the sunrise, and I will be visible through these things,
Yeah.
right? And even then, like to the nth degree, that level of selflessness
Yeah.
is that is like an unfathomable thing.
Yeah. So whoever Father God is, this is a totally devoted architect and creator. This being is full on devoted to his path of I am creating life, and I'm creating this immaculate life and this perfected light. And in his pursuit of this embodiment of love comes along. Love was drawn to his thought and his process of
Mm,
contemplation, and
interesting.
love was drawn to it. Here love is just doing its thing in the universe.
Mm,
Whatever that is, we'll get
somewhere.
into that. We'll get into that at some point in this
True.
conversation if we dare. Love is just doing its thing, and then suddenly it's magnetized to this being that is truly, I would say, like a master architect, a
Wow.
master in awakened, purely awakened architect. And suddenly
Mm,
love is put, bam, is in this situation. And you can see in the dialogue in the book, there's some hesitancy. Whoa, you're creating too fast. Whoa, the energies are firing too quick. Whoa, you need to
mm.
think about this, God. There's kind of a urgency, and also, are you sure you know
Several
what you're
times.
doing? And
Yep.
there's this type of, it's this really quick, really fast agreement, collaboration, and now love is involved within, of course, time. What is time during this phase and era,
Yeah.
right? But it seems like it's a very quick decision to jump in and to make life what it is with him. And gosh, it's just, it kind of leaves you a bit breathless.
Mm. It's a pretty intense thing, and I'm trying to find this beginning right before Adam appears. I should have read that quote a little earlier. Oh yeah, here it is. So when love says when God says, I'm not doing this. Okay, love is replying to God. This is the second chapter of book 4.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing this alone. This is the presence of your energy, your soul. It is only being reflected by me. Your
God.
reflected light comes back to your invisible self. Aflame with courage and aspiration, God, inspired by love, exclaimed, everything is proceeding with acceleration. Everything is astir in me. Oh, how marvelous is inspiration here above. And now let the dreams of my creation come to fruition in most radiant love. And then, literally, the next words in the book, the first appearance of you, the earth, the core of the whole universe, and the center of everything appeared as the planet Earth loomed in sight, right? And it's God says, I'm completely inspired by love, and now let the creation come forth,
Yeah.
right? And that's a profound idea. There's this unity between God and love, and then immediately after, the appearance of the
Yeah.
earth and the whole universe. It's like kind of an incredible thing. And I actually wanted to go back too. Here's another little insight that I had. There's this moment in the creation story where God appears right at the beginning of creation, chapter 2. Um, and Anastasia's talking about these elements who are creating in the dark. But then all of a sudden, God appears. He alone was so fervent in his devotion that he was able to bring all sensations and feelings into locomotion. From all across the unfathomable universe, one question was uttered by all, addressed only to him. What do you so fervently desire? Everyone inquired. And he, confident in his dream, replied, Conjoint creation and joy for all from its contemplation. And what I realize is that this is the first ever words attributed to God ever, right?
Mm,
Like in the beginning of all things that ever existed, God's first declaration of himself to the entire universe was he desires conjoint creation and joy for all from its contemplation. That's
mm,
his like essence. That's his whole reason for being. That was the
mm,
first thing he ever quote said, right? I mean, literally. And then there's parts where there's even in this book that God is talking to Adam directly and like saying there's a dialogue. So
mm,
God's first ever words were conjoint creation and joy for all from its contemplation, right?
mm.
And that I see that as like him self-defining himself,
Yes,
right? Like who
exactly.
is he at his essence? This kind of says it all, right? And it's the whole
Yeah.
purpose of the universe, but it's also like who he is. And then there's this idea that love gives inspiration for him to materialize his dreams, but without it, he wouldn't be able to. So they're these both like, God level deity beings, but they have different functions. It's kind
Yeah.
of an incredible thing to think about.
Yeah. And you were reading those first words that he proclaimed, Gabriel. You were just sharing that with us. It
Yeah.
sounds to me like he wants for us what he has with love. That sounds
Mm,
like the same thing, you know? He was this master dreamer, visionary, and then love was drawn to his contemplation. And
yeah.
then he said, Love is here. Okay, let's make this happen. We're going to make this happen.
Mm,
It didn't happen until love came along. And so his wish for humanity is that it sounds to me like that's the same relationship that he just had. He just had
right.
that with love. Now
Right.
they're building these worlds and all, extensive life together. And now he's reminding us that, hey, this is my wish for you. This is my grandest wish for you to do the same, to be the same, to co-create like me as I'm doing, and to
Mm,
also an invitation to contemplate like God. God is a mighty contemplator. If you really think about his thought process, creating
mm,
the air, creating the water, creating the earth, creating the mycelia, creating animals, creating the biology of the human being. Whoa, full stop here, full stop. I often sit in meditation. I just think of that like, dang, you are you are a next level
yeah.
masterful architect beyond anything my mind can even come near,
He's
and
definitely worthy of the title creator. That's for
yes.
sure.
Yeah. And what a beautiful, that quote you read to us, what a beautiful invitation for us to follow suit and to do the same, to be these like really these brilliant architectural beings that collaborate with love. I mean, we see this on earth. We see brilliant men and
Mm,
women who are creating amazing things for the earth.
mm,
They're working with love. They're working outside the box, right? So
mm.
there's something here I'm going to read in book 4,
Yeah.
and it's a second edition here, and it's on page 12. This is the dialogue between God and love, and I'm going to read this here. What do you desire? Why have you touched me with all the power of your fire?
Mm,
And the response here is, I have realized that I am love. I cannot remain simply a particle of. I desire to give my whole self to your soul. I know,
mm,
so as not to disrupt the harmony of good and evil. You will not admit me as a whole, but I shall fill with myself the empty space around you. I shall warm with my cheer all the room within and around you. You shall not be touched by the cold of the universe and its gloom. It shall not even come near. So yeah.
Can I just can I say something right there?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the space of love, right?
Oh,
That's
yes.
literally love saying my purpose and my function is to create a space of love around you. If I
Wow.
admitted myself as a whole into your soul, I'd disrupt the balance because I'm too great, right? But I
Yeah,
will occupy all the space around you,
yeah,
and the cold of the universe will never touch you,
yeah,
right? That's the kins domain. That's the space of love.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Literally, you're onto something right here, Gabriel. This path, this blueprint that Anastasia is inviting us to create, which is the kins domain, the settlements, the living in community, the gardens, the living so close to the land and to God's thought through the land,
Mm,
um, and to create love in families again. To really revive the purity of love again in the lineages. This sounds like what you just shared here with us. It sounds like Anastasia's blueprint is reflecting this dialogue that Father God and Mother Love are having together. And it's reflecting, I'm just getting these inner chills here, sharing this
hmm.
as I'm sharing this right here. She's giving us our, I just have to sit with this for a second.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I can go on if you want.
Please, please.
Yeah, and some time ago, I don't know when it was, but I, in my own words, right, I kind of mapped out that this initial, this series of interactions that she talks about in book four, between God and love coming together and then materializing the universe and Adam and Eve, and then love coming down to be with humans forever and all of this. This is essentially a step by like what we do with the Vedruss wedding rite and the Vedic, the Vedruss wedding rite, how people come together. That entire process is basically a
Mhm.
step by step recreation of that
Wow.
process that God and love went through. Because if I step back all the way to the beginning and just try to say it practically, God was dreaming of a dream. He had a dream of the universe, of life, of the animals and the sun and the moon and the stars and the water and man eventually, right? And then love gave inspiration to his dream, gave him the power to materialize it. But God really, he envisioned a space. He
Mm,
envisioned the earth
yeah,
specifically,
yeah,
and the earth as a garden, as a paradise, as a heaven.
yeah.
And he said he created this in his mind, this space, and he creates this with the inspiration of love. He materializes it, and then he places Adam there, right? So he created a paradise in his mind, materialized it, and then essentially him and love gave birth to their first child, which was Adam, right? And then a period of time passes, and then him and love give birth again to another child, which is Eve.
Oh, wow.
So they conceive of this garden, they build the garden. It's spectacular in every way, unfathomably perfect. They they give that space to their children, and essentially this is the creation of the first, kins domain, you could say. But at that point,
Yeah.
it's the entire planet,
Yes.
right? And then what the Vedic people do, what the Vedruss wedding rite is essentially a recreation of that, right? How Anastasia describes it is two people come together and they are dreaming of a space. They write literally the declaration of love: with you, my beautiful goddess, I could create a space of love to last for eternity, right? That's the what the man says to the woman, and in the Vedic, you know, tradition. And that's exactly what God did essentially in the beginning with you, with your inspiration, my love, I could create a space of love to last eternity, right? And they go and immediately they are planning and dreaming of this space together,
Yeah.
right? And then they go through the wedding, right? Oh my God, man, I'm just like getting chills talking about it
Yeah. Yeah.
because Ariane, if you would indulge me here to let me go a little further on the wedding, right?
Yeah, I'm right here with you. It's book 8.2, everybody.
Yeah. And then book 6 as well, the Vedic wedding rite. And, you know, essentially it's the same idea where in that culture, in that consciousness, the man and the woman look at each other as a reflection of the infinite creator and a reflection of universal love. And they literally state
Wow.
this.
They
Um,
do.
they literally state this, right? There's a statement here, he is worthy to wear the crown, whose thought is able to create a future that will be splendid all around, right? And that is addressed to the man, right?
Yeah.
That's the woman, the bride, saying this to the man. He is worthy to wear the crown, whose thought is able to create a future that will be splendid all around, right? This is the same thing, conjoint creation and joy for all from its contemplation. She's basically saying that this man in front of me is the embodiment of this. And then the woman is described as universal love itself. And I think it's the father asking the son, yeah, where will you gain the strength and inspiration, my son, and crown son of the creator? And the husband replies, in love. And the father, the son's father here, the energy of love is capable of wandering through the whole universe. How will you manage to see the reflection of universal love on the earth? And the husband replies, there is one girl, father, and for me, she is the reflection of universal love on the earth. Right. And so then they complete this rite, and they everyone goes and plants the plants that they dictated in the spots that they dictated. Love and the creator come together once more. They create a garden. 2 days later, they come back and they conceive of their child.
Mhm.
Right. It's as close to a step-by-step reproduction of what God and love went through in the beginning as you can get on
Yeah.
this material plane,
Yeah.
right? It's a reenactment, it's a coming together again and again, and it's an unbelievable thing to contemplate.
Uh, so I highly recommend folks read what Gabriel is exploring right here. It's book 8.2, Rites of Love. Um, and it's called the Wedding Rite chapter, and that's chapter 11.
Yep.
Did I get that right,
And,
Gabriel? Yeah.
and yep, there's that. And then some of what I was pulling here is book 6 as well. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
I think because they talk about it in a couple, and what is that? Um, well, pretty sure it's in here. A union of two, a wedding. The history of mankind is told by Anastasia. Yeah, in book 6 here.
Okay, book
Um,
6 as well.
Yep, and then there's yeah, as you're saying, there's the wedding rite as well in book 8.2. And what's funny is about it, that chapter, I think in book 8.2, it's either that chapter or the one in the beginning. Grandfather comes up to Vladimir. He's like, "You wrote about the wedding rite in one of your books," but he's like, "I think it should be mentioned in all of them." He's like, "There is
Yes.
much in that rite that we don't understand, that you
Yeah.
don't understand, you know?"
Yeah. So, what does this mean for us, for the men and women
Mm,
of Earth right now, to be given um, this path, this ritual, this rite? For me, it completely changes my understanding of marriage and being
mm,
in partnership and children and land. It totally changes my vision. This is what the books did for me. When I started reading the books, I realized, oh, I have a dream here that I didn't even know I wanted. I didn't even know was calling out to me. The books reminded me of a dream that was dormant. And we hear
mm,
this a lot in the community. So, do I long to have that type of experience and to live that way? Well, of course. I mean, every fiber of me, every cell in me is like, yeah, of course. Of course
mm,
I would want to live that and to experience that, because it's creating a space of love. It's healing lineages and family. It's healing the air, it's healing the earth, it's healing the waters. It's healing community. It's bringing back the original blueprint, everyone, the original design, creator's experience is now being not now, from the beginning was in it would he and love were encouraging us to replicate that, to bring it into our
Mm,
own lives and to bring that here, to be that here. So,
mm,
yeah, it's a really profound invitation. And at the same time, everyone, isn't it also very natural? Doesn't it just seem so natural, even though it might seem far-fetched perhaps for some, but at the same time, isn't
mm,
it just so natural? Isn't it? Doesn't that
mm,
just feel so right? You know,
mm,
in the book, it talks about the blasphemy of our modern wedding rites and rituals, the utter
mm,
and total degradedness of it, and how it really does not create a space of love. It actually creates a space of distrust and dishonor,
mm,
you know? And so reading through the chapters, there's also something to move through in that as well, to look at, well, what have we done with this very pure rite and passage and practice and way of living? What have we done? You know,
mm,
so I find the books really walk us through a healing journey to look at, hey, this is what's happening now, but this is what we can be. We can have spaces of love. We can
mm,
recreate the original um, relationship. God fell in love with love.
mm.
God fell in love with love. Love fell in love with God. That
Yeah.
was their beloveds. They created a heavenly planet and a heavenly dream together. We can be that too. We can recreate that here. I mean, how amazing is that?
Mm,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
You're right. It really is like a profound idea, and I'm reminded, Ariane, of like some of the conversations that we had before on this topic, and my own personal thinking was, for example, in many cultures around the world, the highest, or most, you'd say, worshipped or cherished expression of God or the divine would be the feminine aspect, right? Like look at the Catholic religion, like Mother Mary, right? And all these, in Hinduism, the Divine Mother Kali, right? And all of this feminine aspect being highly regarded and highly revered throughout many cultures, right? And so it seems to be, from Anastasia's words and from her grandfather's words, that to say that God is love directly would be incorrect because they're separate entities, right?
Yes.
But what I was thinking in my mind is like, um, this divine aspect of the feminine that people pray to, that they've given their heart and soul to, maybe they're just praying to love itself,
Yes.
because love always
Yes.
comes as the mother. It's always this mother figure, right? Like Mother
Mm,
Mary,
mm,
and her and the aspect that comes with that is like infinite compassion,
yeah.
infinite tenderness, and like that energy is equal to God in its way, right? It is unbelievably powerful and divine, right? And God equates it to himself. He literally says in book, 8.2, he says, those who are born in love will understand who their mother and father are. God literally refers to love itself as the mother and he himself as the father, right? And it's kind of just a crazy thing to sit with, because even then, there's the parts in book 8.2 where they're saying that love is a full-fledged member of the family, right? And
Yeah.
love appears to
Mm,
little Ludmila and comes to her,
yeah.
and her grandmother
Yeah.
recognizes that love is here, and these people were skilled enough to
Yeah.
navigate love's requests or desires in Ludmila's life, right? They were able
Oh,
to help
wow.
guide it along to fruition, right?
Mm,
And create the conditions for it to thrive. I mean, we certainly don't have that awareness in our culture today, right? Like, um, love has made an appearance in this young girl. We can properly guide it to its fruition,
yeah.
right? That's a profound thing too. And they realize, love has appeared. It's here for a reason. It's not this rationalizing energy, but it has its purpose and its way, and we have to facilitate it. And it's just an incredible thing. It helps us, I think, relate to this energy much better, you
Yeah.
know, like, and to see it for what it is. Yeah. And last thing I'll say is like, there was a quote from grandfather. He said here, Um, Love is the essence of the cosmos, living, thinking with an advanced intellect. It is powerful, and it's no wonder God was so excited about it, giving its great energy as a gift to man. So that's book 8.2. And it's like it has an advanced intellect, but also doesn't engage in rationalization, right? It's like not a rational kind of energy, but it's also incredibly intellectual in its way. It's just I don't know. I'm going in a lot of directions here, but yeah.
I'm thinking about, I love where you're taking us, Gabriel. I'm thinking about the times in my life where I got really, really bold with my contemplation and my thought of how I wanted to create, how I wanted to serve people, how I wanted to show up in the world, but more specifically, what I wanted to create for the people. When I got really outside the box
Mm,
and super innovative and really kind of broke the norms and really did something spectacular. I've had a few bouts of that in my life. Every single time that phase of life happened, without a
mm,
shadow of a doubt, out of nowhere, there were people that manifested in my life that were just as creatively inspired and were incredibly loving mentors that wanted to guide it every
mm.
single time. And those mentors to this day, okay, we're talking about 20 years ago. I was like a young one doing like really
Yeah.
getting intense with how, okay, what can I do and how can I serve people. To this day, these mentors have imprinted my heart forever. I think
Mm,
about them and I have tears in my eyes because they literally help propel my dream into motion. They
mm,
helped me love myself and love my creation even more. And that's what's needed to get it out there. We can be the
mm,
most innovative creators, everybody. Okay. We can have the most incredible, um, research breaking, groundbreaking ideas. But if we don't have the love behind it, it's not going to manifest. If we need to love ourselves enough and love the offering enough to actually get it out there in the world. And there's this
mm,
saying that we're learning in business. My partner and I are learning a lot about entrepreneurship right now. And they say there's a common saying that the greatest, most innovative, brilliant ideas are found in the cemetery. They're found in the cemetery. People contemplate, have brilliant ideas their whole life, but they don't actually bring it forwards. They don't let
mm.
love in enough to actually bring it forward. So they take it to their grave. They take these brilliant thoughts and ideas to their grave. So I invite people to think about that. Like, think about that in your life. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot of courage to let love in. It takes a lot
Mm,
of courage to let love, like, manifest and take our dreams into the world.
mm,
We are this now. We everybody is this now. Everybody is this incredible father, create architect, creator, master. And are we going to let ourselves let that degree of love in? God let love in.
mm.
God was like, whoa, what are you?
What
You're
is that?
warming me. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We heard his dialogue, right? On book 4, like, whoa, what are you? And you're warming me. And this is, he's having this experience. He let that in. And look,
Mm,
he built with love, they built probably, I don't know, but probably one of the most heavenly planets out there with the most heavenly beings,
right.
truly, made
Yeah,
in the most pure image. He
right.
let it in. This is an invitation to all of us to I know we all have brilliant ideas. God, I've spoken to so many people in the world, and Gabriel, you and I can testify as people who bring things forward. It takes a lot,
Mm,
doesn't it? It takes like it takes a
indeed.
lot of courage, but most importantly, we need to let in a certain degree of love for ourselves and love for the people and love for the earth and love in general to help propel it actually into
Wow.
reality, right? So this is an invitation, everyone, to how do we be this now? How do we be what we're reading in the books, in book 4 especially? How do we be this now?
Mm. As you're saying this, like what I'm thinking, keep thinking of that phrase from book 1. Anastasia said, "A single creator inspired by love is more powerful than all of the sciences combined, which are deprived of love.
Oh,
Right. And even stepping back and taking an objective view at that, looking at all the sciences from a like detached view, it's like they're cold,
yeah.
right? It's that quality of
Yes.
being cold. Like even love itself said, I won't let the cold of space touch you,
Yeah.
right? Like there's this thing about the science, without this, it's cold. And
Yes.
right. And like, men, we can have a tendency if right, we can become that in a way, if that energy, cold, right? And very like that. And so the science is right, but a single creator inspired by love is more powerful than all the sciences combined, which are deprived of love. And it even made me think as you're talking about like letting love in and letting it inspire you. And what it
Yeah.
creates is I remember even in book 3, there's this part I think Vladimir is talking with grandfather and he's like, why does Anastasia love me and all of this? Right. And like, why does she love me? And she's like, he said something, I want to find the quote as we're talking, but
This is big.
something about this pure love that she's inspired by, being the driving force behind everything that she creates. If I type granddaughter or something, it should come up. I'm pulling this up on the PDF. Hold up. Give me 1 second. So I found the quote that I was looking for here. It's actually in book 2 from Grandfather, and I'm just going to read. Her love is genuine. He's talking about Anastasia. It's not a whim. She's not looking for any fringe benefit. Even though she appeared illogical at first to the forces of both light and darkness, to us and to others, in reality, she clearly illuminated the whole concept and meaning of love, not with words, doctrines, or moral teachings, but with actual achievements in the lives of people in your world, including your own personal life. The forces of light, the forces of the Creator, speak through her love. Oh my God. And not only do they speak, they show clearly as never before. Look and see. See the power of a woman, the power of pure love. At the very last moment before death, it is capable of giving new life, capable of lifting up any man, rescuing him from the tenacious paws of darkness, and carrying him into the brightness of infinity, capable of surrounding him with the space of love and giving him a new life which is eternal. Her love, Vladimir, will restore to you the love of your wife, the respect of your daughter. Thousands of women will look at you with fervent glances of love. And he's basically saying, you will be able to do all these things. Uh, yeah, I just wanted to go a little further here. Yeah, he's basically saying, right? Anastasia loves him purely, right? Um, and yeah, yeah, right. It's like love is what inspired her, right? Yeah, she is inspired by love to do all this, and she created what she created through that, right? And it's kind of an incredible thing.
I'm laughing because you read all that and you said,
Yeah,
and yep.
yeah, and yep,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah, you thank you so much for opening this door, Gabriel. I have so much inspiration to share with you.
yeah,
This painting in the back, everyone, Gabriel had gifted this to me a few years back. It's the scene in one of the books where Anastasia is met by the God child embodiment, an embodiment
yep.
of God, greets Anastasia in the taiga, and you
Book
can't see
7,
it.
chapter. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And you can't see it, but on the corner here, the grandpa's great granddad and granddad are there and they're baffled and they're shocked. This is a perfect example here of what you're talking about,
Mm,
Gabriel, because grandpas, they're trying to go about this very left brain, right? Very
mm,
strategically, logically, analytically. And what's it doing? Well, it's not working. They don't get it. They won't get it. They can't get it. They're not letting love in the way Anastasia is.
mm,
Anastasia's a really great example of she is the embodiment of God's wish for us. God and love. Anastasia is the embodiment of their wishes embodied. She is that. And what is her
mm,
power? It's infinite. She's literally awakened her motherland, which is Russia, and now it's spilling over in other countries like North America, like what how many other countries?
Everywhere else, right? All these other
Everywhere
continents.
else, Asia, Africa, Australia, you name it. We're all it's absolutely everywhere. This dream and this movement. So this is a really good example here of
Mm,
someone who is embodied in it fully. Anastasia's embodied the dream and the wish of Father God and love. She is the expression of it. She's showing us what is possible. Anything is possible. Anything. She's been attacked by the darkest forces and can stand on her own 2 feet afterwards. I mean, full
mm,
stop right there. She can pretty much withstand anything, and she has,
mm,
and she is, and she's creating, helping to revive the pure origins of a planet, of a planet. So, yeah, this is another really important reminder for all of us to continue to let our contemplation be broad and vast, and to break these norms, and these boundaries that have been imposed on us, but to also let it ride on a river of love, because it'll just remain contemplation and it'll go to the graveyard if we don't let love in. And love does make us shudder. When I think back to my early 20s, when I was helping so many people in my field, and I had really great
mm,
innovative ideas, and the mentors were showing up with great
mm,
innovation too, but really inspired by love, and they were helping me. It was a bit, oof, God, okay, this is happening. Okay, there's a moment of hesitancy and doubt, just like we saw in book 4.
mm,
We saw this in book 4 too. There were shudders, there were dialogues that were reflecting some, are you sure you want to do this, and is this right, and hey, it's too fast and we're
mhm.
burning here, and there's a process we go through, and I feel like that's, I'm inviting everybody to welcome that, because I think a lot of people get intimidated by that. Whoa, I feel a bit insecure, and what if it doesn't work, and this is intense. Yeah, that's part of it. Look, God and love created a planet. They
Or the
created a
entire
planet,
universe.
entire universe. This is part of the process. It can be a bit scary and a bit, confronting, but look what's possible. And in our case, we're called to create these kins domains. We're called to create partnerships that are based on a love that includes the earth. I talk about this with people, and it really gives them, I could see that they're thinking something they've never thought before. Hey, marriage, my partner and I are going to have a wedding ritual that includes the earth. I could
Mm,
see a lot of people with like a question mark, boom, in their mind
right.
when I say that, but something is sinking in there. I'm planting a seed there. There's, I mean, we're including God's thought, which is the earth. We're including it into our love and our commitment and our devotion in this lifetime. How amazing is that?
Mm, yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to think about. I'm thinking about now how love told God, when I'm gone, you won't be visible.
Yeah.
And and God is responding basically like, I will come up as the blade of grass. I will come up as the
Mm.
sun in the sky, and I will always be there, right? For my children. And I wish I could just very instantly pull up some of what he's saying there. If I just go back for a moment, but it's kind of Adam aspired to love all living things. My son shall bring joy to all living on the earth. Oh man, wow. Um, 1 second here. So this is page 29 of book 4. Um, when love is leaving, love says to God, my God, when I leave, you will be alone, unforeseen forever, dwelling on all the planes of being. You will be invisible. And may my son and daughter henceforth shine through the inner, the outer, and the order. And then love says, my God, around you will be empty space. There will never be a place where the life giving warmth can penetrate to your soul. Without this warmth, your soul will become cold. And
Mm,
God responds, not for me alone, but for all life may this warmth emanate from the earth. My sons and daughters will multiply this radiated love, and the whole earth will glow with the warmth of love shining throughout space. All will feel the light of grace emanating from the earth, and all my diverse energies will be warmed by its might. God is basically saying the love that's being emanated from his sons and daughters and from the earth will touch his soul, and that will
exactly.
be sufficient for him, even though it isn't inside of him, but he'll be warmed by it.
Yeah.
And then love responds, my God, sorry, there's just one more thing here.
Um,
My God, a great variety of paths are exposed to your son and daughter. In them remain the diverse energies of all the planes of being. And suppose just one of those energies decides to hold sway over the rest and leads them astray. What can you do, seeing you have thought to give everything away? When you find the energy shining from the earth to start to weaken and fade to naught. You've given everything away, and yet you see how on the earth the energies of annihilation hold sway over all. Your own illustrious creations are covered with a lifeless crust, the asphalt, and the grass is smothered with stones. What will you do then? What can be done, seeing you have given complete freedom to your son? And he responds, as a green blade of grass, I shall be able to break through among the stones anew and unfold the petals of a flower in a small and untouched glade. My earthly daughters and sons will be able to realize their purpose. Oh my God. My God, when I leave, you will not be by any eye perceivable. It's conceivable that elements of other energies will begin to speak through people in your name. Some may try to proclaim themselves ruler. Look how wise love is. Look how wise love is foreseeing all these bad things that might happen and is telling God, like, please don't send me away. And God has a perfect response for everything. Some may try to proclaim themselves rulers over others, abusing your essence for their own interests, saying, I speak in God's place. I am his chosen one. Everybody listen to me. What will you be able to do in such a case? Look how he responds. I shall come up as the dawn at the inception of the oncoming day. God. By caressing all creations on the earth without exception, the rays of the sun will help my daughters and sons understand that each one in their own soul can hold conversation with my soul. And I mean, it's just, I don't even know where we're going at this point where it's like, it's, it's really, it's really a lot. It's like, and even love, oh my God, no one and nothing is able to fight or even stand against the flight of your thoughts and dreams. They
yeah.
are marvelous. I shall willingly follow them. I shall
Whoa.
warm your children with my radiance and shall perform this service forever. The inspiration you have given them will help them undertake their own creations. And then this is where love says, please let me leave a spark with you. And God says no. But wow. Wow. Just a lot to reread there.
Yeah. As you wipe your brow. Yeah.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
you know,
And so let's look at, you talked about the blade of grass. Okay. So he just said it, everybody, that with all the concrete that's laid down with, so much shadow and darkness and hope and men and women being lost and disconnected from their heart and from love, what's going to happen then? Well, I will come up as a blade of grass, even through whatever, situation might be happening with layers of concrete and asphalt and whatever. I will come up, and I will come up as the sun. I will. So this brings us back to the earth. This is such a saving grace. Man, this really changed my life, reading about the divine connection man has with the earth and how paramount it is. And when that was huge for me, because the spiritual path for me before did not include that to that degree, certainly not.
Yeah.
And now I think of shadow and how shadow has worked fervently to get us away from God's thought with the earth through the earth, fervently to
Mm,
keep us away from having a beloved connection with the earth. So, what have we been witnessing, everybody, in the last few decades on the planet? We've been witnessing what? A huge movement back to the earth. People are hearing the call again. People know it innately. All across the world, across countries, we're seeing this movement. We're seeing people going back to Father, going back to Mother, and
mm,
then the rest is history, right? We know where this is going. We know
mm.
that we're going back to the earth being its pure immaculate expression again, the way it was intended to be. So I think this is extremely empowering what you just read there, because the earth is here. It's not like I have to spend $1,000 or $1 million to do a
Right.
training to get to. No, it's under my feet. I step
Right there.
outside. It's right there. I
Mm,
can plant something. I By the way, everybody, I totally encourage everybody. This is we're in April, right? We're about mid-April. This is a perfect
yep.
time to plant something. Just even if you don't have a garden, you could be in a high rise. You could get a pot, put earth in it, and plant some flowers, plant some herbs, plant something, right? It's a step towards what we're reading in these books. And it might not seem like a big step, but it's a huge step. It's a huge step, right?
Right. It's true. And God is even, Anastasia in book one saying, God is the interplanetary mind. Half of him is in the non-visible side of the universe, and half of him is the entire visible universe, right? And it's like his body being the plants, and God even saying himself, right? I shall come up as the dawn at the
Mm,
inception of the oncoming day by
yeah,
caressing all creations on the earth without exception, right?
yeah.
And it's like, he seemingly when love left, he lost some form of visible form, whatever he had. And he's basically saying, right, I will come through all these other things and I will
Mhm.
be there. Right.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thought because it's the sun, as he's saying, caresses all without exception. You know,
Yeah.
those of us who may not feel like we're very good and those of us who feel like we're decent or, good people,
Yeah.
he is giving his love to all of us,
Yeah.
right? Without exception. And there's no judgment of who earns it. There's no judgment on who deserves it or not.
Mhm.
It goes
Yeah.
to everyone. And that's
Yeah.
why we can call him God because he's that great because he, has that for everyone, right? And it's just interesting to think about all this, right? These two separate energies
Yeah.
and God and love and well, I hope our listeners so far are finding this interesting and I'd love to hear how anyone, may have any insights and I think there's a lot to keep, exploring with these ideas. I think, we're lucky to be so early in all this because we're kind of pioneers of this consciousness, right? Like
Yeah.
Anastasia gives us the direction and the key things and we like figure it out through our experience, as
Yeah.
we live, right? And as you're saying earlier, let love in to your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and Anastasia said somewhere in the books, like if only people could live life with an open heart, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
right?
And it's intense. Love will bring things to the surface. It's light. It's love, right? It's so that intensity is part of the process. We saw it
Mm,
in Father God's engagement with Mother Love. There was so much intensity there and so much just sparked and happened and boom, there's this
the
universe
universe.
teeming with life, and not just any life, like quite holy life. And
Mm,
yeah, it would kind of be boring anyway if there wasn't that intensity and that spark and that, having to take a breath and that shudder. It's really beautiful how everything is set up. It's set up so we have an incredible adventure.
mm,
Truly. It's not dry. It can be dry and cold, right? But when you let love in, it's just incredible adventure and it's intense for sure.
mm.
And I
You
think
know,
those words were even shared in book 4 that love brings this, I'm not gonna, don't quote me here, but something about
mm,
the intensity of it. So,
mm,
and if this, what you just read, that last quote that you read there, Gabriel, this really inspires me to get closer to God through through the earth. Really, really inspires me. I mean, it's something I practice every day since I've been reading the books,
mm,
and it's a game changer to realize that God is like this close. Yes, God is, within me, it's with all, and
right,
it's in the air, and it's in the water, and I'm feeling God in the sunshine, and also love from the
right.
sun. We're just saturated in it. We're just
Mm,
cradled in this. But it takes
mm,
time to see it. Can we sit and be with it long enough and just be with it? We think of our ancestors and they've been calling us to meditate. It's probably a big reason why. Can we sit long enough to feel this, to actually see it,
mm.
to connect with
As
it?
you're As you're speaking there, it made me think of the moment of that idea of inspiration, love giving inspiration to creation,
Yeah.
right? The moment when God is inspired in the beginning of creation before he, manifests the universe and all this. Um, it's that thought that God was holding was of this future creation. And this is kind of what Anastasia talks about when she is saying, the difference between co-creation and then just regular physical like intimacy between people, right? Like what
Yeah.
separates these things is the guiding thought behind it, right?
Mhm.
And going back even to when God was dreaming of the universe and then love comes in and sets his heart on fire, his soul, and then the universe is manifested.
Yes,
God was
yes.
dreaming of the entire creation in that
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
right? He was dreaming of this unbelievably bright and pure and perfect dream,
Yeah.
and love comes in and inspires him, right? And it's kind of the same idea. Like Anastasia talks about co-creation, people come together, they're dreaming of
Yes.
something very far beyond what most people, normally experience, right? They're thinking of,
Yeah.
of a future creation together, and it's an exalted thought, and it's kind of the same, idea, and just something is tying together for the, with that there for me.
Totally. To keep on contemplating this image of life being the way father and mother intended for us, to keep on contemplating that no matter what, even if it looks impossible, to keep on
Yeah.
dreaming that and contemplating that, to continue no matter what. I think it was 2 years ago, someone on the global imagery call came on, and I could see the love for her love for taking action. She came on and she was like,
Mm,
Now it's time to take action. We've done enough visualization. Let's take action." And I can see the fire of wanting to take action in her eyes, and that's beautiful. And then I
mm,
gently reminded her, like, "Hey, wait, wait. we Do we ever stop? Do we ever stop? Remember, I forget which book. You can let me know,
mm, mm.
Gabriel, but there's a book where we're gently reminded to continue holding this bright image of what the world can be, its pure origins. And even when the
Yeah.
whole world is filled with bright, immaculate, incredible kins domains, then we hold images, these images and contemplations for the other planets out there. And now we become
Mm,
a galactic civilization, right? And we repeat God's and love's creations on these other
right.
planets. So it never stops. It never stops,
Mm,
even when the planet is in all her glory. Let's keep on doing this, everyone. And action too, absolutely. Absolutely.
right. That's even what God was saying, that love will keep reflecting and repeating throughout time. When alone or when infinitely multiplied, he emits invisible light, merging it into a whole. He will rule the universe. He will
Yes.
endow everything with the joy of life. Oh my God. You know,
Wow.
it's
Uh,
oh
what
man.
book is that? What book is that?
That's book 4. That was page 14, right?
Uh,
And my son shall bring joy to all living on the earth. He is creation. He is birth. He is all of all. He will create a new creation. and will transform into infinity his ever repeating regeneration, right? And
See? Wow, that's amazing. That's
you know,
amazing.
there's, I hope everyone listening has enjoyed coming on this thought exploration with us. And I think especially reflecting on these ideas, because so many things in the books are unique entirely to the Ringing Cedars
Yeah.
books, right?
Yeah.
And I actually saw an article on Vladimir's website, the Russian version of his website. It's vmagri.ru. And there was an article from like 2018 or 2020 where Vladimir said that he talked to grandfather. He saw grandfather at some point in that time. And grandfather told him, go back and read book four again because there's a
Mm.
lot that you didn't understand, right?
Whoa.
And I mean, he's literally saying that to the author of the book, right?
Yeah.
And right, it's kind of and it makes me think, and even his other statement in book 8.2 that he thinks that the wedding rite should be in every book because there's a lot
Yeah.
that we didn't understand. And to continue contemplating these things, because what we're talking about, it is like the essence of life, right?
Yeah.
Who are we as man and woman? What are these? We seem to be embodiments of universal principles,
Yeah.
right? Like the woman is this reflection of infinite love, universal love, and a man is a reflection of this grand creator spirit, and they can't manifest this beautiful conjoint creation without the other,
Yeah.
right? And these principles, like God couldn't have brought the creation into being without love,
Mm.
right? And love wouldn't have had something to give inspiration to with her great energy if it wasn't for God, right? She
Mm.
could power, right? And it's like this, they are, I hope this puts to bed every debate on the mother or the father is superior or inferior. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
commonly held perception of like the feminine is superior or the masculine is superior. I think
Yeah.
that's a primitive way of thinking,
Yeah.
and
Doesn't make
each of
sense.
them is divine and extremely powerful in their
Oh,
own
yeah.
way.
Totally.
And even from Anastasia's words, they acknowledge each other as such. I mean, the infinite
Yeah.
God who dreamt the universe puts love on equal footing with himself, says it's the mother of all, right? And
Yeah.
how humble, how wise, right? And how sweet, right? To say that, and love to respond to him the way that kind of relationship. That's the original relationship,
Yeah.
right? That's it. And we are blessed to have that play through us if we live our lives properly, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we can find that original relationship everywhere here. I know there's a lot of distortion and a lot of like dark things going on, and it's still here, everybody. It's still here. I don't think it can ever really be fully destroyed. And I think that's talked
No.
about, in these books. It can't fully be destroyed. It's still here. You can find it everywhere. You can still find it. And I find yeah, bringing people back to sitting in nature and just like observing, not just I'm not just talking about analyzing, just also to deeply feel it, to bring in
Mm,
father and mother into that sit in nature. It's very clear that, whoa, I see this relationship everywhere. I'm seeing it absolutely everywhere. This is an architectural masterpiece.
yeah.
Air. Think about air, everybody. Think about who created air and how. Just full stop. Water,
Right.
it's mind blowing. And then the love,
Yeah.
it's all infused with love, all of it. It's
Right.
living, breathing love within that masterpiece architecture. So
Right.
it's beautiful. And I think, Anastasia's living in the taiga. I'll just throw this in here super quick. She's living in
Mm,
the taiga. She's living in a very pure, pristine environment, you know? She doesn't have all the toxins, she doesn't have the EMFs, she doesn't have all the distractions. Her space of love is multi-generational, has been tended to and loved by her brilliant foremothers and forefathers, one of which created Egypt.
right. Yeah,
Like,
right.
we're talking about these like super inspired men and women that walked that land that she's on. It's infused with a phenomenal memory. She's living and breathing that. She's giving us the reminder and the example of what's
Mm,
possible. And she's eye to eye. She's our sister. You know, she's giving us that reminder and example. So, of what
Yeah.
can happen with this pure environment, an environment that's been tended with love and touched with love, where we build an
Mm,
intimacy, an intimate relationship with the natural world, right? God's thought. It's exciting.
mm, mm. Yeah, as they said in book two, grandfather, what a woman inspired by pure love can do, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I remember even, I think it was book one, she was saying that the energy is new to her and unfamiliar and a little fiery, and she doesn't know how to control it and all
Ah,
this. And it's like when it first started hitting her, right? When she declares her love to Vladimir at the boat and all of this, and it's just and how her actions seemed illogical to the priests and all this, but in reality it was all just love, right? And even that, they throughout the books it says love is not a rational energy, but yet it possesses this advanced intellect. And in
mm,
my life I feel like that kind of helps me relate to that energy of love better, because it's like, we can all say in our hearts, like, it's not like rational. We love, and you don't know why sometimes, or what the
yeah.
reason is.
Yep.
And maybe that's just the nature of it.
Yeah,
Maybe
totally.
that's just how it is. And maybe there's a reason it comes to us in that way. Maybe it has something to say. Maybe
Yeah.
it knows what it's doing. Why is it making us love in this way? Right? Like there's something to it, and it gives me this feeling to like respect its intelligence, even if
Yes.
the intelligence isn't like immediately rational to my mind, but it's like
Yes.
it is vastly intelligent. I mean, it was intelligent enough to reason with God on all these things, and in the beginning of the creation of the universe. It's unbelievably wise and powerful,
Yeah.
but it
Yes.
not in the typical way.
Just imagine me sharing this to you, okay? Gabriel, I don't understand you. I don't need to understand you. I just respect you exactly as you are, and I love you exactly as you are.
Mm,
Can you just sit with that for a sec?
that is intense.
Isn't that like, don't you feel amazing right now?
Mm,
You know,
yeah. Yep.
yes,
That's
I'm
how.
using. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, that idea, like reflecting on that, of love having this advanced intellect, but not being like a rational thing. It's
Yeah.
like, and even, her grandfathers are confused, but it doesn't seem to follow necessarily straightforward logic or rationality, but yet it's supremely smart,
Oh
right?
gosh.
And but in
Yeah.
this, and it's like, I think we can all feel that, like in our hearts,
Yes.
love has done this, and like, who do we love? Why do we love? Right? And
Yeah.
but maybe that's just what love is,
Yeah.
maybe. And I've been sitting with that for a while.
Yes. Yeah, that's a beautiful contemplation to sit with that. And that's a beautiful contemplation to bring into sitting in nature. Hey, I don't understand a filament of how you're all how God is
Mm,
infused in every particle of you, molecule of you, but I'm in awe with all of you. I love you. I'm devoted to you. You know,
mm,
what a statement to make. And there's a feeling that rushes with that. Which book was it, Gabriel? And you might not know
mm,
this, of course, but because
mm,
this is a tall ask, but there's a book where
yeah.
Anastasia says, oh, no, it's not Anastasia, it's Father God that says, hey,
Mm.
men and women of earth, children of earth, don't try and understand, don't try and rationalize too much of this. Remember?
Yeah, that was book four.
Yeah, book four. Okay, you got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
You can understand it all through your feelings. You'll never get it with your rational mind.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And I'm even reminded of, throughout the early parts of the books, there keeps coming up this idea of like, how did Anastasia fall in love with Vladimir?
Yeah.
And everyone's trying to rationalize it. And and
Yeah.
and throughout the series, there's people who just appear and they just start roasting Vladimir.
Yeah.
They're like, how did she fall in love with you? And everyone is just like roasting Vladimir. And there's this part in book three where he's watching this video cassette tape after he visits dolman of Anastasia's foremother, and he hurts himself. He goes home, he's watching this tape, and it's someone giving a presentation about how like Vladimir is not worthy of Anastasia. He's like, yeah, I guess. He just kind of is like everyone's roasting him all the time. But
Uh,
and and Anastasia comes back later in the book and she gives all these reasons why she loves him. But then it's like, does she need to have a reason why she loves him? She just
yeah.
loves him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe that's the thing. She just purely loves him.
Mm,
And, and then of course there's like you could say reasons, but she basically says her love arose because all the girls were saying, "We love you, Vladimir," when he was leaving on the ship. She
mm,
said it too.
yeah.
And all of a sudden she's had feelings of love for him.
Hmm.
That's how it happened. She says that's how it happened. And it's like, you know what? Does there need to be some other rationality behind that? She loves him with her whole heart,
Hmm.
you know? And
Hmm.
maybe that's it. And
Yeah.
I think he deserves it, and
Yeah.
he, it's an interesting thing. Why do we love and who do we love and all these
Yeah.
things, but
Yeah.
maybe it's okay to just love who you love, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That man created these books. He created 10 books. He literally put everything on the line. He, against all odds, he was living as a homeless man at one point with his life on the line. Like he literally, there's some reluctance and some resistance, but rightly so. I think anybody would have some reluctance and resistance,
Oh,
right, to radically changing your life around for someone you've just met, right? So it's this man is he's unbelievable to have transformed his paradigms. And I believe it's very important that it was Vladimir. This is like another podcast right here. It's very important that
yeah.
it was Vladimir, because if he can be such a man and go through such a process, anybody can.
Say
Anybody
it.
can, So he
Hmm.
is the example and embodiment of hope to anyone and for anyone. Imagine if he was this like super holy yoga meditator, really dialed in, really vibrant, healthy, conscious master man that walked into the
Yeah.
taiga. It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same.
Wouldn't be the same at all. And it would be such an unrelatable story. It would be
Yeah.
like, two perfections meet each
Yeah.
other. And
Yeah.
right, it's like, maybe that level of perfection and refinement was needed elsewhere. Maybe, her
Yeah.
love lifted him up into what he became, right? And like, and it's a powerful story of what that, I mean, how unbelievably pure and sincere her love must be for him, right? Like, there's that part in book 8.2 where there's the wedding that Anastasia does by herself and her grandfathers witness it. And
Yeah.
great grandfather says she has the strongest wedding, marriage bond in the universe, and nothing could ever sever it. And its power knows no
Oof.
equal. And it's like, well, like as you're saying, if someone is capable of it, then we're capable of it too. Like, can we love like that? Right? Like, it's a tall order. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's an invitation in a direction, you
Yeah.
know, that
Wow.
is, you know what I mean?
Whoa. It is an invitation. Can we love like that? You know, because he challenged her a lot, and he was even unkind to her when he started spiraling and losing himself more than once, right? So,
Mm,
and she still held the line. And she's like, I will not feed the shadow who's present
mm,
right now. I will not feed their agenda to pull us apart. She was so devoted in
that's
her
powerful.
love. She was devoted in two ways: devoted to her contemplation and her vision, and also her love. She's this perfect example, I find,
Mm,
of father, God, mother love. She's this beautiful embodiment of
mm.
all of it, So yeah, well, thank you,
Wow.
Anastasia, for being so devoted to Vladimir, because these would not be here. The movement would not be thriving globally as it is. Thank you so much for holding the line and standing for love no matter what, even when people were belittling
Yep.
both of them. You know,
Yep.
she held the
Amen.
line. Yeah, it wouldn't be like this if she didn't. It wouldn't.
Right.
It would have fallen apart.
How dry all this would be, like, without love inspiring all of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
How,
yeah,
it just wouldn't hit people's hearts and souls the way that it has, right? All
yeah,
these ideas, and it would just be another philosophy in some book filed away somewhere. It wouldn't be like this vibrant living thing that it is, right?
yeah,
And it's incredible. Just to I don't know, man. I don't know where to go from here. I feel like
yeah. It's
where
intense.
where are you at? I feel like maybe where I'm hitting my
Yeah, I,
yeah.
I think the future doors we open are future podcasts because there's so much to explore here, and I feel like we really tapped into something um, quite important, and I'm inspired to sit with this, to
Yeah.
think it through, but also to feel it through, to be both
Mm,
now. In nature by a tree. I'm really called to just be with this because it's going to keep on revealing more truth, right? Like grandfather was saying
mm,
about the marriage rite. So,
mm, right. Wow. Well, thank you, friends. I want to repeat that last quote just to close out here. The quote I read in the beginning. Those who are born in love will understand who their mother and father are.
yeah.
Right?
Uh,
And
uh,
and there we go, friends. We hope you enjoyed this exploration with us. And I'm really excited to do more, Ariane. Thank you for being here and for your time and for inspiring this and helping, we're bringing this to fruition. It's great. And I'm excited for more. So anyone, if you've listened this far, thank you. And please leave any comments or insights in the comment section, or let us know. And we're happy to discuss these things. But we want to get these Ringing Cedars ideas out there because there's so many and they're so unique and so valuable. And we hope to inspire you, and perhaps you'll go off and contemplate all these things on your own and arrive at new conclusions and arrive at new thoughts and new places. And that's wonderful. And we hope to hear what you uncover because we're all uncovering these things together.
mhm.
So thank you, friends. Ariane, what can I say?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll connect with you again next time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.